I was just happy with the entertainment value. Cavante Turpin, thank you for that. It's Turpin time.
Turpin time.
That sounds better than mine. Little praise and tribute to Paulie D. Jersey Shore T-shirt time. 32-18 Turpin, 98-yard kickoff return, 86-yard punt return, 29-10 at halftime. And Cavante got to take the shoulder pads off in the second half. My second star up goes to Tristan Hill. Had the hat trick on that play before halftime. That was, man, he looked explosive. He looked quick. He looked like he was throwing his body around. Tristan Hill with the sack, the forced fumble, and the recovery that led to another touchdown. But that clip from Brad, my third star up, Israel Mukuamu. Interception on the first drive. Nice plays against the run. Had a big hit on a pass breakup. They drafted him in the 6th round last year as a development project at safety. And Saturday night, he was fantastic. So I'm starting to think of our insiders, I guess, starting to prove themselves, not starting to. Comments made to me at training camp are looking good. Brad Sham talked about safety being the deepest part of this football team. Bobby Belt praising this defensive line. Dante Fowler was the one that created the pass rush on that Mukuamu interception. And then Tristan Hill, the best moments I've seen from him out of his Cowboy career in one that's been forgettable.
It's been very forgettable. He was, there were times I forgot he was still on this team.
Yeah.
But this was
Malcontenti, Rod Marinelli, supposedly done with him, on the fence, grumpy. These are the things you were hearing behind the scenes. But, man, he flashed on Saturday.
Well, a couple guys flashed, on Saturday. You mentioned Mukuamu. I mean, he flashed, and Marquise Bell had a decent game from the safety spot. So this was an opportunity for a couple of guys to shine, to make the most of their opportunities. Nobody did it quite like Turpin. You're getting very limited amount of chances from the return game anyway in the preseason, and to be able to do so much with it that your pads were off in the second half is kind of remarkable.
And then you look at receivers, and Troy tells us in the commercial break, Tavion Austin has been Tavion Austin released and now available.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things we talked about when we were going through the receiving core for this Cowboys team. We're like, okay, how many receivers do we have? And you guys were going through the list and naming this guy, naming that guy. And I'm like, you know what? They're still looking for that veteran wide receiver. Now, before you start yelling at the Odyssey app or your radio or whatever else, I know you want Odell Beckham Jr. We want the big names out there. But how Jerry would it be to bring back a former Cowboy like Tavion Austin, a guy that has locker room insight, a guy that you don't have to pay a lot for?
Nope.
That has experience.
Turpin.
Turpin. I like Turpin.
Turpin has ended any thought of that. We already got a little small, shifty guy. It's Cavante's time. Now let's just see what they do with him in the offense. Since he's going to make the team, we know 6 receivers are sitting here on this roster. We'll talk to Nick Eatman about it at 9:20 this morning from DallasCowboys.com. Are you wishing that Dak would have played, or that he plays in the 3rd preseason game after we saw Mahomes look fantastic, Josh Allen threw a rope, and other good quarterbacks are playing? I think he should be out there because of these new receivers. It's like my godson hit me.
That's probably why Mahomes is there.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes threw 19 passes the other day. 19. Do you think do you think that has anything to do with the fact that he's breaking in new receivers? I think part of it does. I'm not a huge proponent of him playing, but when you have to factor in the idea that he's breaking in new guys, then yeah, it may not kill him to be out there playing. When the 2 of the 4 best quarterbacks in the league are playing in a preseason game, and one of them is throwing basically an entire half football out there for you, to me, it changes things a little. It changes my thought process. Andy Reid's no dummy. You can't think that Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are 2 of the 4 best quarterbacks in the league, and you can't think that Andy Reid is one of the 3 or 4 best coaches in the league, and Sean McDermott's probably right up there too. You can't think all those things and then have their quarterbacks be out there playing for a half of football and not think it might not be a bad idea.
Right. I agree. There's an opportunity against Tampa Bay here with Brady missing, maybe some rust, offensive line problems. I would just like the Cowboys to capitalize on that. And I think you need to go out there with these receivers and have some game reps. Play him for a quarter. I'm normally keep him off the field guy.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit worried about the chemistry. But Cowboys with an entertaining win. We don't know what's going on at backup QB. We'll have to ask Nick Eatman about that as Cooper Rush started, then Will Grier, then Ben DiNucci.
That was one of those like moments where we saw him get signed and we were like, what is this guy? And special teams, they needed to upgrade a little bit there. They needed some speed to this team. And we've seen a couple times, Mike, him get the ball in his hands and you're like, oh, is he about to take off? He ran a jet sweep that in that game too that I thought, oh, that's stopped behind the line of scrimmage. And he turned it into 7 yards. And I was like, well, hold on, that's something that doesn't typically happen. Usually it's just let's go ahead and get tackled back here. So I think that's an exciting injection into what will be a lot more of this team whenever we get to the first game of the season.
So I agree that Kevontae Turpin is going to make the team. I wish that he would have played the second half at wide receiver.
Okay.
I don't know why. I almost feel like they told him take off the pads. Maybe it was already preset, but it's like take off the pads. You made the team.
It's I would say he is guaranteed a special team spot, and that's probably where that. But I see what you're saying. Don't you want to get those reps as a receiver too to give yourself some more marketability here?
Let's do this real quick. Kevontae Turpin's on the team as a wide receiver.
Yep.
CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Jalen Tolbert, James Washington, Noah Brown, Kevontae Turpin.
Simi Fehoko.
7. We just gone to 7?
Yep, that's it.
So everybody else is cut.
Are we sure on James Washington?
Well, and
we're just going to release him?
We need to talk to Mickey to figure out like what they can and can't do there. And that's a good question is like if he can't play this year, what do we release him and then we have what's our next
spot? Do we release Simi Fehoko?
I'm not.
Well, the James Washington thing, like you sign him to have a dude who has caught passes in the NFL in the absence of Michael Gallup. He's not playing in the absence of Michael Gallup. His whole value to you, at least as I understand it, is not there anymore.
Yeah.
Dennis Houston done?
I mean,
when we named 7, we can't have 8. There's no way you keep 8 wide receivers.
James Washington isn't. If you have to make a move there, if you can do something with Dennis Houston, I think you're able to keep. I think he's earned enough of a spot. But you got to figure out what
8 wide receivers.
So it would be 7 if just Washington's not there, right? 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah.
So we're releasing Washington. So they were so excited about Washington. He's going to come.
If he can't play, like, what's the point? I don't know. Like, I don't know when he's coming. Like, what would be your decision on when he can and cannot play? So I think that's a big move.
Are we worried that Houston would actually get picked up by another team? He's doing
not really.
Nothing.
If I can get him on my practice squad in some way, that's the way I roll it.
Nobody's going to want him on their active roster.
Yeah, no, I could totally see. Like I'm hoping that guy gets onto my practice squad.
Fehoko, the only thing I worry about him is it seemed like San Francisco. Remember the story? They called up Dallas and was like, "Congratulations, we were about to take him. We love the kid." So I just have this feeling. San Francisco, if you release Simi Fehoko, I need to look at their depth chart, but they might pick him up as their 6th receiver on the team. But how many teams keep 7 wide receivers?
Well, I think the rest of that goes into where are you getting your special teams play from? Are you getting your special teams play from cornerbacks or receivers? So I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, 6 is usually the max, Mike. 6 is kind of where you are. 7 if you have a good crop and you can utilize them that way. But obviously the Cowboys want to be very run heavy, but they still have a lot of passing plays in there. I think Fehoko can get reps on this team right now. The big curiosity with him last year was he ready for the NFL maturity wise? Was he focused on football enough and had the experience to go into it? He's getting more polished as you go along. I don't think they want to lose out on what they can build with him in the future. Big bodied wide receiver that can create his own space physically by just turning his back to a cornerback. And that's something that they lack, I think, with the rest of these guys there. So
I need to know this from Mickey in our next segment. I swear he said, I thought it was him. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was Brian Broaddus. And Broaddus, if you're listening, text me. James Washington has to be on your 53-man roster on cut day, your final cut day. I believe somebody said to us while we were in Oxnard after the injury, well, James Washington has to be on the final roster that you make, and then maybe you can move him to like an injured list or something.
Yeah, actually, right now, everybody in the evaluation mode as we can structure the future. There's no shortage of tough decisions. Yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on that because he's expected to be out 6 to 10 weeks, and I don't know what he's gonna be whenever he comes back.
Season.
Yeah, from the time of the injury, I don't know what he's gonna be when he comes back from that injury. So that's where I kind of stand on it and go, I don't know, that's not enough.
I wasn't sure that McQuamu could play that down safety, like with Curse, where you play in the box and all of a sudden you're knifing through and you're making tackles for loss. He can cover and things like that. That's the thing that's helping him, in my opinion, make the team, that he's proven with his length, with his height. I don't think he's the bulkiest guy or the biggest guy.
He plays physical, though.
But he's proven that he can knife through, and he's proven that he can make tackles.
Yep. Yeah. Made plays in the run game.
That's what because, that's something that if you have a secondary of guys, especially that position, that's what Curse was able to do. Curse missed, 3 tackles last year? So if you're playing that down guy and you're getting unblocked like he was the other night, and you're finishing plays, they'll find a spot for you on the roster.
But your point about the corner flex with him, I think, is also another reason why he's now made it to where I don't think you can cut the guy. One, with his play, but I think they're keeping 5 safeties because they're not cutting Donovan Wilson. I don't think they're cutting Bell. They loved him as an undrafted rookie free agent, and I think he's kind of like a Jaron Kearse starter kit, a guy that can end up taking over for him in a couple of years when that contract's up. A lot of similar things. Dan Quinn's using him in a similar form, and then you've got McQuamu. So it's interesting then, can you go one less at corner because you have the ability with McQuamu? I don't think Nashawn Wright's not going anywhere because of how good he is on special teams. I mean, I was watching them out in Oxnard, and they're doing all kinds of drills. When Nashawn Wright comes up, they put Nashawn Wright in positions to lose because they want to test Nashawn Wright, and he still makes up for it, ends up getting blocks in those drills. They love him as their special teams ace. So Nashawn Wright, to me, is not going anywhere.
Well, that might be the replacement then for C.J. Goodwin, because I don't feel like that C.J. Goodwin, watching him play, he was a guy that was on this team just to play special teams. I watched him in all 22. He looked like he was running in quicksand.
Huh.
It just the burst, the lack of.
Been a good run for him.
No, it has been a good run. But if you've got guys now, I'll say this though, when you start talking about Nashawn Wright, he was in a situation the other day where him and Malik Jefferson, when you looked at the first Charger touchdown that they had.
Oh my gosh.
That ball went to the outside and he didn't tackle. Him and Malik Jefferson, that was some of the poorest reaction. And we've seen that before from some of these Cowboy, corners. It's Diggs is kind of like, I'm there. I don't think I'm going to make this tackle.
Right.
And that happened with Wright.
It's signs of Cheeto, right?
A little bit.
That's when I watch him play, because he's in position. I don't think that he's really even played that badly, but when the ball shows up, it's like,
it's the one time
he's got no ball skills.
No, right.
And then he doesn't that play on the screen. He completely decided it was a
that was a
decision.
bad play. Yes,
but I don't know if it's a business decision or he thought that Malik Jefferson was going to make that tackle.
Well, Malik Jefferson's not any good.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lack of awareness though right at the moment where it's time to go make a play. And the ball is in the air against Josh Palmer, he never finds it. A guy has the ball in his area and the instinct to crush isn't there. It's standing back and watching, and I think he has made significant strides from his rookie year, but he's got to do that again.
Yeah.
And hope to be a real defensive player next year, cuz right now he's just going to be a special teams guy, right?
Right,
and that's
now,
good. He can see everything on special teams.
Right.
I'm running at what I can see, and in that role, I think Nashawn Wright's a nice player.
But it's funny, if you ask me to rank the guys that are behind the starters, it's Bland, it's Wright, and it's Joseph. Those are the guys that I kind of feel like. And maybe
so you have Wright ahead of Joseph still?
I have Wright ahead of Joseph. I just haven't seen the one play that Joseph made the other day. I'm like, okay, you're capable. That's it.
Right. He made one
That's
play.
what you have to do. And then the other times, though, he just hasn't been as consistent doing that.
Okay, next play here to talk about as we look at some of the big plays and turning points. What was your favorite play or favorite performer at 877-881-1053 if you want to text in? This is a smaller one. I tweeted about it earlier. People had some interesting theories. What happened when the backup quarterback, Easton Stick, more of a baseball name, by the way, runs away from Jabril Cox? Mm-hmm. This is Jabril's former quarterback at North Dakota State, so a couple of people on Twitter said maybe he just didn't want to hurt his buddy, and that'd be fine. But, I mean, you're looking at 4.52 speed from Cox, 4.62 from Stick on paper. Maybe Cox isn't all the way back was the most frequent thing, and I'm like, I don't think they'd put him out there if he was physically compromised. Did the ACL, did I say something on accident? Did that, Stick's a funny word. Does the ACL prevent Cox from getting back to speed? What's going on in that play?
I mean, that's my guess. I mean, it was funny because I was a little bit concerned when I'm watching that play as well. I'm going, man, I would think Jabril Cox would be able to kind of chase this guy down because Cox has looked like he's moved pretty well.
Yeah.
And he played well, I felt, in his snaps in the game the other
night. I thought he played really well. I thought he had a very good game.
But it was a little bit weird to see, like, oh, dang, I thought he'd be able to kind of chase that guy down a little bit. And I have to attribute it to the ACL. I would think this time last year, Jabril Cox is chasing that guy down, and he's not gaining 20 whatever yards.
Yeah, but, I mean, to me, I think he looks healthy, in my opinion. When we saw him at camp, he was moving around fine, and I thought he did an excellent job moving around, going sideline to sideline, and he did a great job when it came to coverage. We know he's going to be good, and he did a good job of switching people off into the flats.
He took that wheel route pretty well up the sideline because they tried to pick him with an inside guy, and then he avoided the pick and then got on the wheel.
Ran right around it.
The problem was he came on a blitz, though, one time, him and then and Osa came on a blitz. It was a 3rd and 12 play, and the ball went down.
This is the Easton Stick play we're talking about.
Yeah, okay. So he moves up in the pocket there, and he's got to get that sack.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to. Him and Osa have got to find a way to get the quarterback on the ground because that ball was thrown. That was a 25-yard play. That was made. I think we're talking about the same.
Stick ended up running it for a first down.
For the first down.
Okay, he ran 20. The play I'm talking about went for 25 yards.
I think he ran that far.
He ran that far. Okay, so
Cox was chasing him all the way down the field and couldn't close.
Yeah, they had a chance to get the sack on that play, and then they busted it on that. But I go back to the wheel route that he took. That was a pretty good play right there.
I thought he looked great, and I thought he was really good.
And that was on the goal line, too, down in that area, too.
And I thought he was really good in run support.
Yeah.
And we talk about him a lot as a coverage guy, but he was getting in there when it came to the run game as well and was not shy about contact. I think Jabril Cox has been just fine.
Had a nice tackle in the open field out on the edge as well. Like, overall, I had Cox down as one of my positives of the game. But that one play, I was a little bit like, dang, I did think he was faster than that.
I agree.
Right on 817. Wright is always wearing the receiver's jersey, though, even though those plays are a matter of inches away from him battling them or intercepting.
He's got no ball skills.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy because he looks good until the ball arrives.
Yep.
And then it's like he just does not have the awareness. And I don't know if we should be encouraged about where this might go for a guy who wasn't a first-round pick and was a bit of a project. How good could it be in year 3 and 4? Or is that something you're cursed with, Like it's too much to account for the player and you running through traffic and trying to find a football. Like it's a very unique set of skills to be able to do that at that level. And there's only like 20 guys who are half decent in the entire world. So, but I don't know. Are you more encouraged or discouraged by what you're seeing from Nahshon Wright in coverage, Brian?
I'm kind of discouraged because I saw him practice better. I keep saying that, but I saw him finding the ball. I saw him knocking the ball down. I saw the movement. I saw everything that the Tolos are talking about, though. Yeah, he's in position, but when you watch him play, it seems like at that point when the ball gets there, he's panicking. Mm-hmm. He's not sure. You got to get your eyes around, and if you can't get your eyes around, you got to work off the reaction of the receiver. I think that's been a problem for him, though. He just has not. He's had an opportunity to make plays. He just hasn't finished like he needs to. Okay, next play. Jake Ferguson, that got a lot of people excited, and people are texting and a lot about that. 469, the Jake Ferguson play, inject that into my veins.
Hell yes.
Mm-hmm. Besides the kick return, says the 214, I would have to say Jake Ferguson running through some heads got me really excited. Yeah, I want to see him do it a few more times before I'm like, okay, can you do that against first-team defenses? And if so, then you get excited about a run-after-catch tight end, which we haven't had. Yeah, that's a good point. The Tristan Hill sack, I think, is another one that people because you're just kind of waiting for him to make that type of a play.
It's a hell of a play, man.
Yeah.
He was able to bull rush his guy, sticks out his short little arm, boom, gets it, and then also the finish to be able to pounce on it as well afterwards. Malik Davis down by the goal line, running a mofo over was also one that stood out to me.
That was that was a really good job of blocking on that side, that left side. Smith and
they
Ball
ran behind Tyler Smith that entire drive and for the touchdown.
A great balance by you mentioned that great balance by Davis to put the hand down and keep going forward. But that left side right there with Smith and Ball did a great job of blocking.